I'm not going to muck around here. I'm going to give you 10 tips that I think are really important if you're going to use Spike Prime in your classroom. Here are my 10 greatest tips. If you're using Spike Prime, you should really label everything. Well, not everything, just the important parts, especially the hub and the motors and the sensors. Put some letters on there to sort them into groups so that if something goes missing or you find something lying around, you know exactly where it goes. So that's really important, I reckon. Stay organised with all your stuff and get the kids to actually sort out the Lego maybe 5 minutes at the end of every lesson. Or find some kids at lunchtime who are really keen to sort stuff out. It's quite a sociable activity, sitting around tables, sorting out Lego. But keep it organised, keep it tidy, and then you don't spend ages looking for stuff and getting frustrated. And while we're talking about having things labelled, it's really important that you use the same device with the same hub, because then it won't update every time you use it. So if you label things, make sure you've got a matching hub to a matching device, and always use those two together. It's always good to keep an eye on the clock. During your sessions, keep watching the time. Maybe have a countdown on the TV or have some sort of counter on your phone that reminds you when there's only about 5 minutes left of the lesson, so that you can do that tidying up, but also that kids aren't halfway through doing something and then realise the bell's gone and they've got to chuck everything in and pack up quickly. If you're liking this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the like button or even join my channel. Have you thought about joining my channel? It's not very expensive, but it would be really great support to me. I've got these members and they've all supported me, so thanks guys. Make it fun, make it interesting. You know what kids really like to do with robots? They like to battle them. So if you can work out one way of battling robots, then that's fantastic. I do sumo bots, I do plank battles, and then another thing kids really like is to race robots. If you can do some sort of racing activity, whether it's coding them around an obstacle course or around a racetrack, or even racing to the wall and hitting it and coming back, they're all fantastic, motivating lessons. Don't make them do boring things, especially don't make them all follow the instructions and all do the same thing. You should allow kids to be creative in their solutions to the problems. Okay, it's much better than all the kids building the same thing. Allow them to problem solve and come up with their own creative solutions. And if you are someone who wants the kids to follow instructions, then maybe use the app, expose the kids to all the different projects and say, okay, pick one that interests you. Okay, I can't stand it when teachers get all the kids to do the same things at the same time. And you know what? If you tell everyone to do that same project, you're going to have kids say, I can't find a bit, I've got a bit missing, and it's going to drive you insane trying to look for bits. That's why open-ended problems are much better, because it doesn't really matter what parts the kids have got in the kit. If there's one bit missing here or one bit missing there, they can just improvise, or they could even borrow parts off other kits or out of a spare parts tub. I like to have a spare parts tub. The two main rules that I enforce at the start of every lesson is that the kids have to respect each other. So they have to get along with each other, be good sports, cooperate, work in a team. If they're working in a group, you've got to make sure that they're not dominating too much. You've got to make sure that they're sharing ideas and they're not ignoring other team members. So it's really hard to find a balance sometimes where kids are working in groups where one kid doesn't do everything and the other kids just sit back and watch. So you're going to make sure that they're all participating, but they're also aware of that. Okay, the kids have to self-reflect and say, well, hang on, am I being too bossy? Am I calling all the shots? Am I giving other people turns? So help them to be aware that they need to consider other people. So number one, respect each other. Number two, they've got to respect the equipment. They have to be respectful of the equipment because it's expensive. And if they look after it, then it'll be much more useful than if they don't look after it. So it's important that they are accountable, and that's why it's good to have everything labelled. It's even good to say, okay, you three guys, you've got set A, and you're going to have set A for the whole term, so you've got to look after it. And at the end of the term, we're going to see if it's all there, and if you looked after it, maybe you get some sort of reward. So encourage the kids to keep them tidy. Respecting equipment can be just keeping things tidy. So if they're not doing anything, they could just spend 5 minutes sorting out Lego while they're waiting for their partner to do something. Respecting the equipment can be also just doing the right thing with the technology, with the devices and things. So make sure that you stay on task. You're not doing other things on your iPad or your computer, that you're focusing on the challenge and respecting your equipment. One thing that I've developed over the last few years is to be able to troubleshoot things really easily. So in a given class, when a kid says my robot's not working, there's a whole bunch of things I look at straight away to see if I can fix their problem, or ask them, have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? Look, your motors aren't in the right ports. Look, your motors aren't connected somehow. Well, the motors are different sizes, whatever. So troubleshooting is important for a teacher to be able to run smooth lessons. It's pretty rare that the equipment is faulty. Okay, sometimes the hub plays up, sometimes the motors get damaged and stop working, but it's pretty rare something like a sensor doesn't work properly. So I don't blame the equipment usually. I check for other things first. It's usually a mistake in the coding or in the way they've constructed it. And if it's not that, then it could be a faulty motor. I test the motors sometimes just using the heart mode. You can test them quickly that way. Or I just click on the Connect tab, have a look to see if it's actually visible on the screen. If it's not visible on the screen, then there's obviously something wrong with it. But it's usually just the motors. The sensors are usually fine. Something that helps lessons run a bit smoothly is if kids can build strong robots, robots that are actually connected together nicely, that don't fall apart. When I'm doing things like plank battles and sumo bots, if kids are constantly fixing them, or if they're having trouble, they're not ready to battle because they've got to fix something, it's very annoying and can be quite stressful. Make sure that the kids are aware that it's good practice to make things strong by adding extra Lego here and there. Just a few beams here and there makes things a lot better. They don't want to be repairing their robot every 5 minutes, okay? If they can make it strong to start with, then that helps everyone be a lot happier and things run a lot more smoothly. It's good just to have a few backup things just in case something goes wrong. In particular, it's good to have a few spare motors. Now, Lego's ceasing production of Spike Prime in the middle of this year, but I believe up until then you could contact them at this email address, hello@support.lego.com, and if you contact them and make a video of what's not working and why it's not working, then I believe Lego will replace things for you. So make sure you've got some spare motors and things on the side, so that if, for example, you're racing robots and the kid says, one of my motors is dead, you can just give them another one and they can attach it. So spare motors are really important. It's not a bad idea to have a spare hub, but it's not totally necessary. I've never really needed to have a spare hub. But if you have hub problems, I recommend you watching this video here, because that'll cover most of the problems people have with their hubs. Another bit of advice is that I reckon you should invest a little bit of time in making some resources. I know that teachers are time poor, but I, for example, built a sumo wrestling board one year when I was a high school teacher, and I used that board every year for about 8 years. So if you build some good resources for your robotics lessons, then you will end up using them year after year after year, and you'll be really glad you made them. For example, I made a wooden maze that I used year after year, and it was fantastic for kids to have the challenge of, okay, it was just a very simple, like a square piece of timber with wooden walls that I put around it, and the kids just had to race and do a lap of this maze. And I used it heaps, and it was really useful. So I recommend investing the time, or finding a parent or another teacher in the school, maybe in the woodwork department, who can build things for you. And then I guess the hard thing after you build it is you've got to find somewhere to store it. But that's usually not too much of an issue. So with the changes coming to Spike Prime and Spike Essential, they're going to stop production of them. The apps will still be available until 2031. But it's good to have a backup copy of your software somewhere, and it's good to have a backup copy of the latest version if you can, so that if for some reason you need to reinstall it, you can. But for example, in the App Store, the Lego Mindstorms app is unavailable after mid this year, so sometimes apps become unavailable. So you should, if you've got it working on a device, it's good to make some sort of image or copy of that device somewhere, store it somewhere safe, and then later on, if you need it, you can access that image. For example, if you've got iPads, you can do a backup on and save it as an image, and then back up your whole iPad, and then later on you could reinstall that if you wanted to. Computers are probably a better option for the software in the long run, because you can save the installation files and install it. But I mean, who knows? In 10 years' time, there might be a new Windows out there and it's not compatible. So if you've got devices that actually work with the software, then I strongly recommend that you don't update them. It's really good if you can have dedicated devices that just go with your robotics kits. I know that's an expensive cost, but you can get a cheap set of tablets, for example, and if you can get it all working and compatible, then you don't need to update those tablets ever if they're only used with your robotics kits. So it's a good idea to try and isolate some devices that never get updated, and then they'll always work with your Spike Prime. As soon as you start updating operating systems and stuff, in a few years' time, the old software is not going to be compatible, because Lego is not going to keep making it compatible year after year, especially if they're not selling the kits anymore. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to be a genius to teach robotics, okay? I think your main goal is to have things organized and to give projects to kids that are achievable and fun. But as far as knowing how to code everything, the kids will work it out. Honestly, they do work it out. If you can show them the basics, then they will work the rest out. Okay, so don't be stressed about needing to know everything. Often, if it's brand new, like if you're opening Spike Prime for the first time and you don't know what you're doing, then grab a couple of geniuses from your classroom and say, hey, you two guys or you two girls, you need to understand that I'm new to this and I don't know how to use this stuff. Can you work out how to use it? Would you be able to teach the class how to use it, or teach me how to use it? Okay, so don't be so on your high horse that you can't accept knowledge and sharing from kids, okay? Because kids often have the answers. In fact, I think half the things I know about robots, kids have actually taught me. So don't think you need to know everything. You don't. You just need to be able to give the kids the opportunity to explore and develop their own skills, okay? And they'll come up with solutions to problems themselves.